Welcome to another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. We have Craig Hazel coming in with us today from Canada, which is an international show, which is awesome. Luke and I are coming in from Grand Junction, Colorado, and this is episode 276. And before we get into this episode, Dr. Craig, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. This is fantastic. I'm truly honored to be a part of it.
You know, it's a huge tapestry of the chiropractic message. And like I was saying off camera, your friends and family are going to get a chance to see a different side of you. The profession is going to be able to see what you've been working on. And yeah, I think it's really important. But before we get into some more, I guess, deep topics, let's touch on you a little bit first as the practitioner. And you got into chiropractic and you've been practicing how long now?
17 years this June, this month.
So yeah. 17 years. And let's turn back the dial to people a little bit. Let's turn a few pages back and let people know how you got into the beautiful profession and maybe a little bit what makes you unique in the chiropractic space.
Okay. Well, my start was 1997. I had been actively working as an
Maybe he had a phone call. He'll probably be like, oh, I had a phone call. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to go into...
Are we there?
Yep.
You're back.
I'm back.
Let me guess, you had a phone call.
Oh, no.
No.
Not sure what happened. People know what we're going to talk about, so I think they're...
They're like, these guys are up to chiropractic
They
stuff.
realized 2 Americans tried to get into Canada, I think. So
they know we don't live with borders, man.
That's it.
Chiropractic without borders.
Yeah. All right. Where'd I drop off?
We were just getting you to start telling the story, and okay. You said to start back in this year, and all of a sudden,
all right,
you got frozen in time.
All right. So yeah, 1997. After my final exam in university, I went downstairs into the gym. I started lifting some weights, felt a pop in my shoulder, immediately couldn't lift my arm up past my waist, had this unrelenting pain shooting down my arm. At the time, I was the athletic therapist for the men's hockey team. And so I knew how to rehab shoulders. And so I started the process of trying to do some rehabilitation with it. After about 6 weeks, I got nowhere with it. I still couldn't lift my arm up past my waist. I had to pull my T-shirt on over one hand at a time. I got to talking to a friend of mine. He said, well, why don't you try chiropractic? And I said, well, I don't have back pain. I don't have neck pain. Why would I go see a chiropractor? And he said, well, no, that's not what it's about. It's about making sure that those nerves that are sending signals down into your arm and into your shoulder, if they're not functioning properly, then you might have a problem that's just not going to resolve until you clear that obstruction. And so you should go see a chiropractor. I said, well, you know what? I'm in this field of athletic therapy, and I have an interest in sports medicine. So, I'll go check this out and see what it's about. So I went and saw the chiropractor, and I went through the initial exam, and I came back for the doctor's report, and I sat down and I listened to him talk about, innate intelligence and universal intelligence. And he talked about how the body is self-healing and self-regulating. You don't need medications. You don't need to take certain things for all these problems. And, it was kind of there philosophically in a lot of ways. But what was cool is after about 3 weeks of getting adjusted, I still couldn't lift my arm up past my waist. However, what I didn't tell the chiropractor was that I had been dealing with post-concussion syndrome for about 2.5 years up to that point. So I was having horrendous headaches every single day, taking 3 extra strength Advil every 4 or 5 hours, terrible sleep, having troubles with digesting food and just moodiness, couldn't concentrate, all of the hallmarks of concussion injuries. And for the first time in 2.5 years, I hadn't had a headache since that first adjustment that I received. And I was like, what is this? Like, what is going on? So I sat down, I made an appointment for the last appointment of the day, and I must have talked to him for about 2 hours. And we sat and talked again, a deeper dive on the philosophy of chiropractic and the nervous system and how to make sure that it's keeping it optimal and how to improve its function through the adjustment. And I said, you know what, man, like, I think this is what I want to do with my life. And from that moment on, I had redirected my pathway of my career to try to get into chiropractic school. And so I actually applied to the school in Toronto. I went in, and when at that time they had an interview process that you had to go through. So I went into the interview and I spoke philosophy. I spoke innate intelligence. I spoke universal intelligence. I spoke about chiropractic. And guess what? I didn't get accepted. So at that point, I had a decision to make. It was like, either I'm going to continue to pursue this or I'm going to do something else. I went and worked at a friend's office who was holding a Kids Day International, and I went and helped out, and I was checking kids and doing posture checks and things like that. And I met this girl who was actually just a recent graduate of Parker, and she said, "You need to go check out Parker. I think that should be high on your list." And I said, "Well, I'm not going to the States." I think at the time the dollar exchange was $1.60 Canadian, so I was going to pay 60 points on the dollar to go to school. And of course, it was so far away from my home. I was like, I don't want to go down the States. She's like, "Listen, just go check it out. Like, do yourself a favor and just check it out." So I looked into it. I applied. I got conditionally accepted on a few things. And I kid you not, I think I got the last return flight from my town in Ottawa to Dallas for $199. I couldn't believe it. Like, my wife at the time, my girlfriend, we flew down together. And within 12 hours, she got offered 3 different jobs. She's a registered nurse. And, I met Fab Mancini. He came out of his office and he talked to me. He actually recognized and remembered parts of my application, and he quoted them to me. He actually was like, "Man, I would really love to have you here. It would be such an amazing time," in that typical Fab voice that he has. We found an apartment. It just all fell into place. 2 weeks later, I took a Greyhound bus from Ottawa, Ontario to Dallas, Texas. And if you can look at that on a map, you can see that they are diametrically opposed in terms of the distances. 44 hours on the Greyhound bus, nonstop from Ottawa to Dallas, with 3 boxes of everything I own, $1,500 in my pocket, and the rest is history. So, I think that's been my chiropractic journey. So like I said, I've got a family-based practice here in Canada, Ontario, just outside of Ottawa. Our practice sees about 30% kids. I'm ICPA certified. Like, I just had a passion for checking and adjusting kids and families since the first day I got into chiropractic school. So that's kind of continued with me. And when I'm not adjusting and having fun here in the office, I'm also very politically involved. I'm the chairman and president of the Alliance for Chiropractic of Ontario. And up until 2 years ago, we were the only subluxation-based association in the entire country of Canada. We've been in existence since 1998, and we have been standing on principle since then for the purpose of protecting subluxation-based chiropractic here in the province of Ontario. The Ontario province hosts almost 5,400 chiropractors. And of those, we probably make up, I would say, probably almost 45% of the chiropractors in the country. So we've got a really high population, right? Like a 14 million, I think, in the province. And then we've also got the highest number of chiropractors. So, we saw a need where some of the associations that were in existence, our provincial associations, were communicating a very MSK-based message that we just didn't want to continue down that path and communicate that concept of chiropractic. So a new organization was formed. So when I'm not adjusting and here in the office, I'm spending my time standing on principle politically and just continually working for chiropractic and the people that we serve in our community. So just making sure we protect the sacred trust. So we can get into that a little bit more later if you want.
Absolutely. Listening to your message and your story, I think it's going to resonate with a lot of people. It's a journey. Yes. And, from coming into the chiropractic profession the way you did to where you stand today and what your belief system is and how you don't waver from that, I think is a massive truth to so many people out there that the principle can't be bought or sold. And the principle is the truth of chiropractic. And that's why the chiropractic profession stands alone and does what it does and changes people's lives. And it doesn't fit into the healthcare arena. That's why it's always been tried to be bought. and
Right.
manipulated. Chiropractic is a care of health system, and it actually cares for people's health. It's not a health care. And I
Mm.
think if you look at the positioning of what chiropractic is doing, it actually makes people feel better about life, and it's a life-giving resource. And it takes nothing away other than symptoms. And chiropractic will always say, we don't cure anything, or we don't fix anything. The body heals itself. And I think that that's one of the best things that people can start to understand is the body, like your headaches or Luke's headaches, when the body is remove subluxation. When we remove the subluxation from the body naturally responds, and it likes to feel good. And
Yeah.
that's just it. Is the body likes to feel good, and if you have a tuned up nervous system and a tuned up immune system, then the body stays healthy, and it stays healthy naturally, which is
Yeah.
all about the principle of chiropractic.
Amen. Like I was, as a teenager, after I'd suffered what was then my 8th concussion and the post-concussion syndrome started, I started actually getting bronchitis 5 times a year and sinusitis 5 times a year. I actually went to my GP. It was the 3rd time I had seen them in 5 weeks, and I was continually dealing with this heavy bronchitis. And so at the 3rd visit, he looks at me and he goes, well, I'm just going to give you another antibiotic. We're going to give you something stronger this time and hope for the best. And I said, can I just ask you something? Like, why is it that I'm the one that's sick? My brother and my parents are not getting sick, but I'm the one that's sick. Like, if this was germs were making me sick, why weren't they getting sick? And he looked at me, goes, I guess you just got the luck of the draw, the bad immune system, just tough luck, you just got to deal with it. And I sat there and I thought about it afterwards, and I thought, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, it doesn't, if what holds true as far as, these things causing people to get sick, then everybody should be sick that's around me. But the problem here is that I'm the only one that's sick, and there's something going on. And that's kind of when, that fortuitous 2 or 3 week kind of cycle when I met that chiropractor next was so pivotal, because it changed my whole perspective. And it was like, okay, pivot, new direction. We got to go, and we got to start to explore something of how I'm going to build health within my body rather than trying to manage it, treat it, cut, burn, fire, all those things. So yeah, you're right. Chiropractic is such a simple truth, right? Optimal spine and nervous system equals optimal health. And just making sure that keeping the body free of interference and allowing it to function unobstructed allows you to adapt at the highest level that you possibly can. And simple truth. And it's hard, I think, for some healthcare providers, in the other realm, to really kind of see it as being so simple and so easy as that, right? It is. It's simplicity on the far side of complexity. There's no question. There's a lot that goes into delivering that adjustment. I love that analogy about the boat mechanic that goes in and he kind of tinkers with the end. He takes a look at the engine, and then he sends them a bill for $20,000 after hitting one piece with a hammer. And they're like, well, all you did was hit it with a hammer. He's like, yeah, but I knew exactly where to hit and what thing to do, right? So our message is so simple, right? And it doesn't have to be cloudy. It doesn't have to be made more complicated than it is. And I think some people just intellectually have such a hard time, it offends the mind. Like they cannot understand how simple chiropractic can truly be.
So if someone else wanted to schedule more new patients into their office, what advice do you think you'd give them?
You know what? I think the biggest thing right now is creating value. I think it's just a matter of being helpful, being, giving people information and insight, expanding their consciousness about what health is, where it comes from, how do they get it, how do they keep it. I think those are big and paramount. I think you can do that through so many social media chains these days. A lot of what kind of worked I would say it was interesting because if you think back to like the 90s, I think things were kind of autocratic at that point. Like there was some really strong, the doctor's reports, and I think those are powerful. And I think they're still absolutely instrumental. And those were like game changing as far as like shifting people's consciousnesses. But there was also the screenings and other stuff, and I think some of that stuff is kind of, I know here in Canada, it's kind of waned its purpose. But I think that social media presence can have a huge impact for getting connected with so many people for such a low cost. a big return on investment. I think that's a big thing. Spending time, like one of the things I do is just spending time interacting with community people around me, whether it's on Instagram or whether it's Facebook, and going on and commenting or providing value on other people's messages and Facebook groups and other things, and just showing people that you're just a good, upstanding person that just wants to care and wants to help people. I think those are some big things. Of course, you can do ads and other things on social media. I think, again, those are pretty low cost things. But honestly, my practice, I'd say 85% of it is referral based, and it's just having a really pivotal. For me, it's been showing people how much we care, connecting with them at the highest level that we possibly can on day one, making things super easy and simple for them to get started in our office on day two. And I can't tell you, for the first time, and like, especially since I've kind of modified the way I do things in the last 4 or 5 years, I can't tell you how many people at the end of visit one just be like, I want to get this person, this person, this person, this person in for a checkup, because everything, I just started thinking about all these people that, when you were talking about how the brain and the body have to be connected, and that these things can happen secondarily to what happens when we have a disconnect between that system, and that connection is no good. Yes, it takes some work and effort, but man, it is so fruitful when you're seeing the quality people. Everybody talks about having like an avatar and having those specific people. I think that's gold. I think it's fantastic, because I don't want to hang out with people I don't really like, but having more of the same people that you like and that want to be a part of your office, I think is huge. You can create blogs, you can create content that funnels people to your website. I've crafted my website such that it's not just like a message board with information, but it's more of a sales page that directs people to actually book an appointment. Like, if they're going to land on my website, the one thing I want them to do is book a consultation. Like, that's the nature of it. I don't want them to just read things and say, oh, that's great, thank you so much for that blog piece or that information on headaches. I want them to actually take action and get started with our office. So, I think having a good, strong website that has a sales funnel on it, making sure that you've got content and feedback that leads people to that website, I think is instrumental.
And so, aside from your patients, what steps are you taking to take care of yourself and your family?
Exercise has been a huge thing for me since I was the age of 14. So continually active, doing everything from CrossFit to biking to golf, play hockey in the winter, and actually in the summer too. My kids are heavily into competitive dance and hockey. We as a family, we do skiing, we do hiking, we do, just about everything. So that's part of the active stuff. And then, of course, on the nutritional side, we try to eat well. We try to make sure that we're taking good care of ourselves. We indulge. We have some fun, but we live the lifestyle. We live the chiropractic lifestyle that, listen to your body, eat when you're hungry, start to not try to force anything, right? It's about providing your body with the essential requirements that it needs to express health at the highest level possible. When you do, guess what? You express health. When you don't, guess what? You express symptom, sickness, and disease. So our family gets that, and we try to do the best we can with everything that we can all the time. So,
well, it's really cool to hear, the toolkit that you're using. I always call it eating your own cooking, and what you tell people to do, you should do yourself.
Yeah.
And being a testament to the care that you provide to others. I always like to hear the practitioners talk about what their hobbies and interests are and how they've learned how to live the chiropractic lifestyle within the paradigm of being the provider as well. So it's always really cool to hear. And I know that you were touching on earlier some stuff with being a little bit more political and standing up for subluxation based chiropractic. I know this wasn't like a part of our interview set, but I wanted to just kind of touch on that with you. Why did you jump in and start standing up for not only imaging and x-ray and chiropractic, but staying strong within the philosophy and some of these terminologies like universal intelligence, subluxation, and innate intelligence? Like, I know that takes a huge thing to stand up for, but it's so, like we said, chiropractic, it's so simple.
Yeah, what I think the thing that initiated my involvement, I got really sick and tired of people trying to redefine the profession of chiropractic. BJ and D-Day defined it for us 26 years ago. And the truth of the matter is that you can't define it. You can't redefine it. It is what it is, right? And I think it boggles my mind that there's many within the profession that want to redefine it to something that's already in existence. And I think even if we just separate kind of the philosophy of chiropractic for a second and we look at it from a business, financial, economical situation, right? You can obtain more market share by becoming more the same as every other practitioner that's out there. If you look up practitioners that treat back pain, there might be 16 or 17 of them in my local community that manage and treat back pain and neck pain. And I don't think that's where chiropractic's niche is going to be, because if you become more the same as some other profession, one of you is obsolete, and guess what? One of you is going to get tossed out. And I think it's pretty clear as far as what we've been seeing here in Canada is that the two different schools that teach I'd say lowercase chiropractic, are really teaching this kind of MSK-based, evidence-based model of care delivery that looks, smells, and tastes exactly like physical therapy. Kids are coming out of school afraid to adjust cervical spines. There's kids coming out of school that have never adjusted the spine. They yearn to get connected to the clinician that does ART. They want to learn how to do Graston technique. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any of those things. However, the thing that I think is missing within the chiropractic profession, and en masse, is a mastering of the chiropractic adjustment and how they deliver the adjustment, how they analyze the spine and nervous system, knowing where and when to adjust, and then making a specific chiropractic adjustment to the spine and nervous system to facilitate that body to start to function at a higher level. And so the things that got me passionate about getting involved was seeing this direction that the profession was starting to move in, and then starting to see some of these people that are running the show starting to dictate how I can practice, where I would never tell them how to practice, but they're trying to tell me that I can't use radiographs for spinal imaging and for assessments and objective indicators. Better objective indicators means better clinical outcomes, plain and simple. And so we see things that are going on in like British Columbia, and they're trying to remove the chiropractor's ability to use pre and post x-rays, routine x-rays, x-rays for anything less than red flags. Like, it's all just fear-based chiropractic. And I think that, sadly, we have to stand up. We have to, as a profession, stand up.
Yeah. I don't want to put chiropractic in like another position of having to like stand up, but let's just talk another profession. And if you remove x-rays from a dental practitioner,
Yep.
What does that do to that dental practice?
Right.
It takes them back and removes tools that actually help them treat people better.
Yep.
And to diagnose a tooth and to be able to fix the problem.
Yep.
And I think, imaging is essential. And why would you ever go take some great tools that are inside of a doctor's toolkit and remove them and say, oh, you can't do that anymore? It makes zero sense for getting the outcome that we want for people is to get better and to give the doctor all the necessity of doing no harm.
Yep.
And to be able to see what's going on rather than guessing with what's going on. So, I think what you're doing with in Ontario is super important, and what they're going through right now in BC, we just have to continuously support them and hold the line and not put it in sand anymore, put it in concrete, and like, you don't cross this and it's not going away. And if you guys want to create something new, cool. Don't call it chiropractic though. Like, go do your own thing, but it's not chiropractic, and we'll carry on with our philosophy and science and art, and you guys can do what you want to and remove all the good stuff from those schools, but don't call them chiro schools anymore either, please.
Yeah.
Like that's what we
100%.
come to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I know you said you like to work with families and kids.
Hmm.
What do you do like to stay connected to your local community? And do you have any like anything that others might learn from you that you could share?
So we do actually webinars quite almost every week here in our office. So we connect to our community that way. So we actually put it out to the public to check in and listen to us share the message of some of the lifestyle based stuff, eat, move, and think by design. But then we also, in every single aspect, talk about the importance of power by design, which is making sure that you've got a proper brain body connection, making sure that your nervous system is functioning, because all of that is well and good. But if your nervous system is not functioning optimally, you're going to always have a ceiling as far as how healthy you can possibly be. So that's one way. But then I also personally get involved with a lot of coaching, whether it's our kids' activities and sports. So I connect with a lot of families and a lot of parents that way. We do, obviously through our social media channels, try to, again, provide value and try to be helpful within the community that way. But also too, just volunteering, whether it's, not only just the sports aspects, but things with the food bank and just getting our name out there in a lot of different ways. It could be even just offering some help to a family in need that needs some help at Christmas time or Thanksgiving, or just providing some help to the community. And it's nice to get publicly recognized for it, but that's not really the reason why we do it. So.
Well, Dr. Craig, I love it. And there's nothing wrong with being a good human.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So after a lot of the topics that have been touched on in this episode so far, where do you see chiropractic going in 20 years or so?
Oh, man. I think we're at a crossroads. And I say that, and maybe it's because of my involvement politically, but I think, unfortunately, there's a lot of chiropractors that are head down, checking and adjusting, and they're not looking up enough to realize what is going on. They're not getting involved. And Patrick Gentempo is a dear mentor of mine. He told me years ago, he's like, it's not a matter of if you'll get involved in politics. It's just a matter of when. Like, at any moment, any of us have to get involved in some aspect and start to protect what is right within the profession. So, in 20 years, I think we've got a choice to be made. I think we either have to decide to simplify and unify a message that, I drew this up for us at a conference that we held 3 or 4 years ago. And it's like a big Venn diagram. And on the one side, you've got the hardcore MSK group. And on the far right, you've got the hardcore subluxation, I hate to say it, but the hate straights, right? And in the middle, there's a great big group of people that want to check and adjust where necessary, but they see the kind of interplay of MSK, and they see this great big grouping of people that can be helped through chiropractic in a very diverse kind of model, right? And I look at it and I think to myself, if we can get this group to unify around a message that a well-adjusted spine and nervous system is essential to human health and performance, and then if you want to do some of those adjunctive things, if you want to, any of those adjunctive things, that's great. But if we can understand that athlete that's coming in needs a well-adjusted spine and nervous system for optimum human health and performance, just as much as the grandmother does to chase and play with her grandkids, and we're getting people to check and adjust where necessary. I'll share a little secret with you guys. Sadly, in Ontario, this is a staggering statistic. Sadly, in Ontario, our peer assessors go into offices to check to make sure that you're doing all your record keeping and note taking and everything according to the college's standards, right? So we've actually had 5 different peer assessors went into 10 offices per year for 10 years. So what's that? That's 50, and they each checked 10 files. So 5 times 500 times 10. So 5,000 patient files that were assessed over a 10-year period. Less than 13% of people in those patient files received a chiropractic adjustment on a particular visit. So out of 5,000 patient files examined, 13% of the chiropractic patients received an adjustment on a particular visit. That means that 87% of the patients coming in were not checked and adjusted, but something else was done to them. That's not chiropractic. And if you look at the definition of chiropractic, that means that they are actually practicing out of scope and not practicing chiropractic. That saddens me. Like, that frustrates me, because how many of those people should have received a chiropractic adjustment? How many of those people got something completely something else, and don't understand the philosophy of chiropractic, don't even understand chiropractic? So sadly, there's some of our colleagues who are practicing something other than chiropractic. And it's like we said, it's like, we're at a crossroads. We've got to make a decision. What is it that we do? What is our uniqueness in the marketplace? And like I said before, it's like, if you want to obtain more market share, stop trying to be something like someone else, like another profession. Stand up for what chiropractic is, be really clear and really damn good at that. Communicate that message in a strong way. And it's, what's fascinating is when you do communicate that in a strong way, you get referrals from MDs, you get referrals from the Veterans Affairs, you get referrals from the Canadian military. And they're happy because you offer something unique that they can't do. And I think that our profession needs to start to determine what it is that they want this thing to look like. So if I had my druthers, we would clarify around a catalyzing statement like, a well-adjusted spine and nervous system is essential to human health and performance. And we would start to look at how a whole bunch of us can fit underneath that umbrella so that we can still practice with diversity, with our objective indicators that we are trained to use and know how to use in a judicious manner, with integrity and accountability and leadership, all of those aspects, so that we as a profession can move forward. And I think the other thing too, as I mentioned off camera, sadly, a lot of kids are coming out of school $250K in debt. They work at 2 to 3 different clinics trying to make ends meet. That ain't going to cut it. We need super successful chiropractors that are just killing it in practice. You want to watch a bonfire? Get a whole bunch of chiropractors being ultra successful and watch how big that bonfire will grow and how much that'll attract more people when you've got a clarified statement of understanding of for the people in the public, for them to understand exactly what chiropractic is and what it isn't. Chiropractic is. So
well, Dr. Craig, I think you touched on some really important stuff there, and I just want to nail one thing down: is the chiropractic messaging over the past couple decades has been muddled, and it's become easily for these people with ulterior motives to infiltrate the chiropractic messaging and to manipulate it for a different agenda. So I think a lot of what we're discussing today is spot on for the era of our culture at the moment. And I am excited to see what happens as we keep on holding that line and staying true to the principle and the science, philosophy, and art, and teaching people what real chiropractic is. And you are right. People lie, numbers don't. Yeah. And when you see like the stats coming out of those clinics at 13%, that is terrifying for the chiropractic profession. And people need to start waking up to understand that if we tell people that chiropractic is something other than the check and the adjustment, then people are going to continuously be like, well, my chiropractor doesn't do that. And you're like, well, what are they doing? What are you going in for?
Yeah, exactly. I've actually adjusted people and they're like, whoa, what was that? And you're like, that's a chiropractic adjustment. And they're like, I've never had that before. And I've been seeing chiropractors for 12 years. And you're like, that's not acceptable. Unbelievable.
Well, Dr. Craig, we want to thank you for being our guest today. We're about at the edge of our time. So before we close out, can you tell us some web resources where people can learn more about you and what you're doing?
Yes, they can find my practice website at synergychiropracticcanada.com. That's KANATA.com. You can find me on Facebook. I know I'm buddies with a bunch of you here. You can also, for the allianceforchiropractic.com, you can find out more about the Alliance for Chiropractic in Ontario, who we are, what we stand for, and what we're about. But there's also the, about 2 years ago, what we did is we needed and recognized that this provincial organization that we had started in 1998 needed to be taken across the country. And so what we did is we were instrumental in creating the Canadian National Alliance for Chiropractic. We needed a new association that was going to carve a new path and really start to change and direct the future voice of chiropractic in Canada. So you can go to mycnac.com to check that out as well. Become a member if you're listening to this and you're from Canada. You can also, even if you just want to support us and be a non-resident member, that would be fantastic. Our goal and our mission is really to expand our membership, because numbers don't lie, and the more power in numbers starts to change the direction and how we influence and lobby for political changes. So.
Well, Dr. Craig, thank you for sharing so much information. I know we didn't get to all the questions that we had down here for you, but I thought we'd touch on some more pivotal topics there that were more timely. And we really appreciate you spending some of your day with us today. And thank you for being episode 276 of the Chiro Hustle podcast.
Hey, thank you so much. This has been truly an honor. Thank you so much.
No problem. And we just want you to enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and we will see you next time.
Sounds great. Thank you,
brother. Yep.
See ya.
Bye.